Tones, we know who we're going to face at the World Cup in 2026. Well, minus our one team because they're still in a playoff, but we'll figure that out. We're going to get into it. But all the opponents know who they're going to be facing as well. So this was a monumental day, even though it took about 90 minutes for FIFA to actually spit it out and make it happen. We'll get into that pageantry of that show soon enough. But let's talk about our group. That's what everybody wants to dive into. We play Paraguay first on June 12th in LA. We're going to take on Australia second. That game will be in Seattle. And then we come back to LA, and we're going to play the winner of this playoff. It's going to either be Kosovo, Romania, Slovakia, or Turkey. My money's on Turkey. And what's interesting about our group, Big Tones, is that we've played all three of these teams. Potentially, if Turkey wins it, Australia and Paraguay in the last 6 months in friendlies. And outside of Turkey, we did pretty well against the other two teams. How are you feeling? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, my initial thoughts are, look, and I don't want to say anything that disrespects anybody and disrespects their national teams and all of that, but I'm not quite sure you could have asked for a better draw for the U.S., right? And a more favorable draw. Excuse me. And I'm sure Australia and Paraguay might be saying the same thing about the U.S., right? When they look at pot one, they might be going, "Hey, this is a great draw for us."
Yeah.
But but who wants to play the host country, right? Ever in a World Cup. You just don't want to do that. But I mean, we went through, I don't know how many days of scenarios, right? We were going, we want to play this team. We want to play this team. No, we don't want to play this team. Let's avoid Norway. Well, we avoided Norway, right? We got through that. And Norway, talk about a group. We'll get to it in a second, but that's a group of death. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, for me, and I've said it time and time again, the World Cup basically, especially when you don't have qualifying, started today, right? Like this,
right.
Now we have like a real grasp of what the World Cup is. And I know we'll get Charlie on here in a second, and he's been kind of in the trenches for the last couple of hours and probably gets a better sense of, and you were in Kansas City with a bunch of people, you get a better sense of what the fans feel. But man, I think if you would have given the U.S. this group, a week ago and said, would you sign up for this? They would have put their name on the paper, Jim.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of explaining it. I guess my initial reaction was it could have been worse, like a lot worse. All right, let's bring in Chuck. Chuck's on the red carpet in D.C. Great to see you, Charlie Davies says. Oh, look at us. We're all kitted out, man. We're looking good. We're bringing our A games. It's a big day, obviously, for the U.S. and for Canada and Mexico as the other host nations, and for all the teams that are now in the World Cup. What are your initial thoughts, Chuck? Great to see you.
Jumping for joy. I mean, I heard you say, it could have been worse. Stop it. That's the absolute best draw you could have as a U.S. men's national team fan. So I don't want to hear that bull. We talked about the worst scenarios.
It could have been better. It could have been better.
No, not really.
I mean, you could have had a different pot. We had Paraguay. We could have avoided Paraguay, and we could have gotten, I don't know. I'm looking at the list right now.
Stop it right now.
Qatar.
Australia to be the first team picked.
Yes, that was the best pot two team we could have asked for. 100%.
That's the best possible scenario.
Thank you, Shaquille O'Neal, for drawing that.
Also, pot three. You could have ended up with Norway. You could have ended up with Egypt.
Yes. Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast. So if you're telling me that you have to beat a team that, is really hard to a team that finds opportunities to score goals really difficult. It's a good defensive team. We've played them, but realistically, that's the team you want to face if you're playing a South American opponent. So great. Okay. Paraguay. So now you knocked off two. And then your third opponent is a playoff team. Now, of course, Turkey, when they're playing at their best, is a very good team. And Romania, they're not the Romania I heard Tony mention. It's not the Romania before. There's no Haji walking through the doors, banging free kicks left and right and being the maestro in the midfield. So if Romania ended up being the team, it was more on passion and intensity and all the other intangibles and not so much the quality, individual quality amongst that team. So given that, it is a dream scenario. You look at Brazil's group C, like Haiti's got to go in. I'm just happy to be here. It's going to be a celebration. We have 3 matches: Brazil, Morocco, Scotland. It's a celebration for us. If we score a goal in this World Cup, that's the win, right? That's the win. We are very fortunate. And then you talk about
no question.
You win that group, you play a third place team in another group, and then ultimately you'd probably end up playing Belgium. If you're talking about pot one teams, Belgium's the team you'd want to play. out of pot one. So
right.
again, it's a dream scenario. Of
Right.
course, there's no layups. Is that nothing's given, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's easy. But if you're telling me from a draw perspective, it does not get better for us.
Once we drew Australia, I was like, man, that the soccer gods are shining down upon us. That is remarkable. Of all the teams we could have faced, to get Australia is amazing. Very quickly on the UEFA playoff teams, Kosovo did pretty well in their group. Just want to give a little bit of context for them. They beat Sweden twice throughout World Cup qualifying. Slovakia got a win against Germany while finishing second in their group. And then Turkey was a clear second to Spain. But, I still think they're the favorite out of these 4 teams. Romania was okay. They finished third. They did beat Austria along the way, but I don't think they're even going to get to even the final of this playoff. And I do think that Turkey is going to have enough quality to get through. That said, you still have to play the games, and you never know what's going to happen. So let's talk, Tones, about the order of when we play these teams. So Australia, we're actually going to play in our second game. Okay, that'll be up in Seattle. The first game is against Paraguay, June 12th at home in LA, SoFi Stadium. Obviously, all the games are at home. And then the last game will be against the UEFA Play-Off team. And so how do you like the order? Because it's all about building momentum, obviously. I mean, where are you on this? And obviously, you have your own 94 World Cup to lean on in terms of experience of like who you'd want to play first and stuff, whatnot.
Well, yeah, I was going to go there with experience playing these teams. If they do get Turkey, the one thing there'll be a sense of comfort having played these teams already, right? That unknown is not there anymore, right? So you're gonna feel just inherently a little bit more comfortable. Back in '94, things were different with regards to being able to schedule games. Bora's mission in scheduling games was he wanted to play everybody in the world because he didn't want to get to the World Cup and have that be the first time we face somebody. Now, clearly, you can't play everybody in the world. But if you look at our group in 1994, we played all of those teams at some point during Bora's time with the national team. So there was a sense of, okay, we kind of know what we're going to get ourselves into here. The U.S. will have a little bit of that for sure. Having beaten 2 of those teams, okay, that even helps more. With regards to the order, I think it's great because you're getting a South American team. And the one thing with all these South Americans, now they finished 6th in their CONMEBOL qualifying, it's just going to be a battle. Right, they'll be familiar with them, but come World Cup, what this means to the Paraguayan players, what it should mean to the U.S. players. So there's no sense of ever even thinking remotely that you're going to take your foot off the pedal for 1 second. Opening day of the World Cup, Jimmy, I love the travel for the U.S. Right, it's L.A. in the first round, Seattle, and then back to L.A. There's basically no travel.
Yeah, same time zone. Yeah,
round of 32. You're in the Bay Area if they go there. Should they move on, they're back in Seattle, LA, and then, if you got to travel for the semifinals, I think you can deal with it. You go to Dallas. And if you got to go all the way to the East Coast for the finals, you go to the great state of New Jersey and play in that venue. But that's maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But the travel's not going to be an issue. So there are a lot of things that are aligning right now for the U.S. But, of course, as Mauricio Pochettino, we'll hear it a little bit later, says, they got to go and play really good opponents.
Now, speaking of Mauricio Pochettino, do you get a chance to talk with him? Chuck, what did he say?
Yeah. He said, I think there was a couple of questions asked to him. I asked him in particular, how does knowing your opponent 6 months in advance change your preparation, if at all? And he said, no, we're going to come at it the same way that we have been. Obviously, he's going to be watching tapes of the 3 or 4 playoff teams and trying to get a better sense for them. But you just have to wait and be patient. And for them just to continue to do what they've been focused on and what they've been working on, which is obviously the flexibility of playing with that back 3, but also the intensity that comes with representing your country and pushing everybody. So, he was positive. And at the same time,
he should be because just like us. Well, you've been a little bit more open about it in terms of like, this is a group of life, as I'm seeing in the comments, better than group of death, of course. You want to be respectful of your opponents, but like secretly, like, holy shit, this is awesome. I think this couldn't have gone any better, but he can't come out and say that, obviously. And those opponents too, right? They had a chance to play against us, so they're going to feel like they have an idea of how we like to play and what we like to do. But ultimately, I think it gives us more confidence because we won those games. I want to get into some Mauricio Pochettino quotes that he had right afterwards before he spoke to you, Chuck. And I think they probably echo the sentiments that he said to you as well. I know that producer Des is going to throw up one of them so I can read it word for you. Here it is. He says, this is on the pressure to get out of the group. He said, what we cannot do is put pressure on our players. The players need to enjoy and feel free to perform. We need to show respect for our opponents. We cannot win before we play. We cannot look ahead to the next round when we haven't played it. My message to the players is Paraguay, Australia, and the other team are going to be very difficult. And so,
it's the right message. What message did you expect for him to say?
Of course.
Oh yes, this is easy. We're through to the quarterfinals.
I want him to say that. I'm just kidding. He wouldn't say that. You can't.
He just got done breaking down this whole entitlement with this current group.
Yeah.
So that players don't feel comfortable anymore. So he just got. Now you're gonna say, "Hey guys, be comfortable. We're good." So
right.
It's for me. He's gone about it the right way, albeit I thought it was a little too slow to begin with. But we finally got to where we wanted to see them, and I think it wasn't not only the shift in mentality, but it was the shift in formation, right? The tactics of it, because that's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're like, every national team player is eventually going to get that you have to play with your heart and you have to play with the country in your mind, that, you're trying to inspire a whole generation. You better play with that. But now, if I'm getting a top coach that we're paying a lot of money to get, I better start to see the tactics part of the game, the different shifts in and out of possession, and the strategy around pressing versus dropping back versus counter versus the set piece dominance. So now we're starting to see that come to fruition after he's finally set the mentality.
Yeah. I think you're right. He laid a cultural foundation first before he really got into the tactics. There's one more quote.
Jimmy,
yeah, go ahead.
Really quick. Poach wrote that quote yesterday. He just filled the teams in today, right? Like,
I absolutely love that.
Charlie nailed. I mean, what else are you going to say, right? Like he nailed it, and that's the only way you can approach it.
Yeah, of course. He had one more quote too. We're going to throw up here on screen. He said, "We already know." This is about the outlook of Group D now that the team's been out. We already know. We already played these teams recently, Paraguay and Australia. With everything we know, it's very fresh. We need to respect all of the opponents. All are going to be difficult. We know Paraguay was doing so well in South American qualification, and Australia, until we played them, were unbeaten in 12 games. And so that was another quote. And just as a reminder, we beat Paraguay recently 2-1. And Gio Reyna, that's where he scored the header in that game. Flo Balogun came on later. He got an assist from Gio to win that one 2-1. Miguel Almiron had that great assist across that we didn't handle very well. That was their lone goal. Against Australia, we were down 1-0. Remember, it was a throw-in. A lot of players weren't really closing. Somebody was like they were waiting for somebody else to do it. And Australia had a nice finish there. And then we came back, and Haji Wright had 2 goals in that game. Christian Roldan.
Can I ask you guys a question?
I just want to remind everybody of those games. Yeah, go ahead.
Now knowing our group, who would be your TBD for the U.S. now? Would you? For me, I would
take Ivory Coast. I'd go.
I'd want to play an African team. Yeah, I want to play an African team.
Yeah, I would happily.
What about Cabo Verde?
Hell, since we didn't get Ghana in the World Cup, we may as well play him before.
Why not?
Right? I mean,
keep the tradition.
We didn't
going.
get him when we wanted him. So
I love that.
That would be. They would all be good, man. We should play an African team. Yeah.
No, it should be a lot of fun. All right. Any kind of final thoughts about our group overall? I mean, we're going to be talking about these teams for quite some time, and we have to wait till March until we see Kosovo, Romania, Slovakia, or Turkey, whoever comes through there. Are you guys all on board? Do you think Turkey is going to get through? Like Turkey is out and out?
Could Turkey be the? I mean, they could eventually be the toughest opponent, right? In that group.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, solid team. We're waiting to maybe find our toughest opponent in the group. And again, I say all of this. No, I'm not disrespecting the other teams, but it could be.
And that might be a team where we need to get a result. Hopefully, we don't leave it to the last game to have to get a result against the Turkey side. Chuck, I was expecting us to maybe get somebody different, but I guess once Paraguay and Australia came out, I knew we were going to get. Well, I guess Ghana was still an opportunity to get in there, but you needed a European. You needed a European team. So
it was going to be a European team at that point.
Yeah, that's right. So that I guess of all the UEFA playoffs, this one feels the best. It's hard to say because you don't know who's going to be the winners yet. You know, they got to fight it out first. But we won't know, obviously, our full group until March. But overall, I'm excited about this group. I mean, it's one of those things. If we didn't have the cameras on, we weren't all dressed up in tuxes and suits, and we're just talking to our friends, and Like if we can't, I would say if we can't get out of this group, we've got really big problems, especially when you have 8 third-place teams that get through. So there's a much bigger thing going on. So I'm feeling good. We're going to get through our group. Now it's about where we finish, right, Chuck? It's like it's going to be very strategic. We want to potentially, to your point,
you got to think about finishing first, Jimmy.
Yeah, you got to finish first. Round of 16,
have
Belgium.
To think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
We all talk about, the group stage and what that means and waiting for your draw on your opponents. But we all know if you had a group of death drawn up for you, let's just say you had Colombia instead of Paraguay, and then
Norway.
You had Norway, and then you throw in a Euro playoff, right? You get say Turkey, right? You all know that the mindset completely shifts to, oh shit, like I don't like. Hopefully we get third. Maybe we're gonna get third place, versus the group that we have, and now you're starting to say, okay, we obviously have to take care of business, but I'm inspired that that it's real possible that we can see the pathway to getting to the final 8, and that includes beating a Belgium, and if Belgium takes care of business, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about having a pathway, which is luck of the draw, and going in your favor, which it has. So we all know you got to take care of business and you got to take it game by game, but mentally to know that it is very doable. You're not climbing Mount Everest to just get to the round of 16. I think we can all get behind the team, like Pochettino said, be super supportive and positive.
Listen to that point, and then we're going to take our first break of the show. Going into 2006, we were preparing for Czech Republic, Italy, and Ghana. If you would have told me we were preparing for Paraguay, Australia, and whoever comes out of the playoff, I would have been like, to your point, Chuck, all right, I'm feeling good about this. The other one, you're like, oh my God, we have to play perfect to beat these guys. And that adds a layer of pressure.
And you got your ass whooped game 1. And
hey, why are you bringing up old stuff, Chuck? But we did get our ass whooped. Honestly, the best performance I've seen a national team play against us in person, on TV. They were so good. Czech Republic. Shout out to Jan Koller and Thomas Rosicky and Pavel Nedved. Unbelievable.